I started off in this area in graduate school, just maintaining a network of instruments in the Canadian Arctic. So these are magnetometers. But what you can do with that is remotely sense the winds 100 kilometers above us, actually the winds of ions. So it's really the convection pattern that flows over the polar caps. When you get closer to the magnetic pole, you actually are sensing things further away from the Earth, further out in the magnetosphere. And so what we really want to study is the boundary between the solar wind and the magnetosphere. And so the closer we get to the pole, the closer we get to that boundary. I spent almost 7 years in traveling every summer to the Arctic, and it's a fantastic place. And the important thing for me is there's some people who travel to the Antarctic, to the South Pole, and it's an interesting, you see really the physical environment, but there aren't people living there year-round except for the scientists. In the Canadian Arctic and up here, you actually have villages of people who live here year-round. And if you're coming up every year, every summer visiting, you start to make friendships and you come back and you visit them every year. And then you see the connection between the people and the land and the environment, which I think is very exciting. What got me into science in the first place was a 7th grade teacher. I think his name is Mr. Pinky. And he explained, I remember the day still, that he was explaining, we were talking about astronomy, and he was explaining a spoonful of a neutron star weighed as much as an aircraft carrier. And I was hooked. I actually also in space physics, I got to start very early on. There was a mentoring program my senior year of high school, and I worked with a researcher in Minneapolis. So I started space physics research my senior year in high school. And the fascination was so intense that I really have stayed here. I've never, I haven't gotten tired of it yet, or even close. Well, I think it's important, and so now I do some teaching at college level, and I can see when we take students, I think people are very naturally interested in these topics and in science, and I think actually we've done a poor job, or maybe we've kind of discouraged people by first showing them that they need to, or telling them that they need to do all this complicated mathematics and this complicated physics, and so I think for a student, maybe my advice would be, don't worry about that right now. You can figure that will come. Don't let it be some initial barrier, and just really let your curiosity and your interest propel you forward, and not to be discouraged.